Hello friends, today I am going to deliver lecture on the topic of auction game, which is a competitive activity of n players. So in this auction game we have n players, which are the bidders, and all these n bidders are bidding for a particular resource. That can be house, that can be white, that can be any good or the resource. Okay, and what can be the strategy here in this game? The strategy is a set of all non-negative bids, because the bid always be a positive amount. So therefore the strategy is the set of all non-negative bids. Now what will be the payoff here in this game? The payoff here is the difference between the valuation of a resource and the amount which a player pay. So I am assuming that this is the valuation. This is the valuation amount of a resource, and this is the amount which the player paying. So this is the valuation and this is the amount which the player paying. So the difference of these two will be the payoff. The payoff can be positive or the negative. So when a payoff is positive, when the amount which the player is paying is less than the valuation, and the payoff can be negative when the amount which the player is paying more than the valuation, means he is paying more than the valuation, so the payoff will be the negative. So if player is winner, then definitely he has to pay some amount, right? And if the player is paying, either he will pay more than the valuation or he will pay less than the valuation. Okay, so the payoff can be positive and the negative. But if the player is not a winner, then he will not pay anything. So in this case the payoff will be 0. Okay, now the next is what the rules of the game. So the rule of this game is dependent on the type of auction we are following, and how we are deciding the winner, and how we are doing valuation of a resource. So these all things will decide the rule of the game. And the fourth point is the seller is not a bidder here. Seller is not a bidder. The seller task is just to set the rule for the auction. Okay, so here we have two type of auctions. First is the first price sell bid, and second was the second price sell bid. The first price sell bid says if we have a winner, so winner has to pay the amount equal to the on bid. Winner has to pay the amount equal to the on bid. And the second price sell bid say the winner has to pay the amount equal to the highest of the remaining bids. Now we understand, I explain you this two terms, the first and the second price sell bid, with the help of an example. So you can see here, in the case of first price sell bid, we have three players, Ram, Shyam and the Mohan. The Ram bid is 40 lakh and Shyam bid is 80 lakh and Mohan bid is 70 lakh. Now who is the winner here? The Shyam is the winner, because his bid is the highest. Now this is the case of first price sell bid, and first price sell bid say that the player has to pay the amount equal to the on bid. So his bid is 80 lakh, so therefore the Shyam will pay 80 lakh. Okay, now we consider the scenario of second price sell bid. Again we have the same player Ram, Shyam and the Mohan, and the bid amount is 40, 80 and the 70 lakh respectively. Now again Shyam is the winner here, because his amount is the highest, and but since it is a second price sell bid, therefore the winner will pay the highest of the remaining bid. Now what are the remaining bids? The 40 and the 70. These are the remaining bids. Now which one is the highest? 70 is the highest. So as per the second price sell bid, the player has to pay the highest of the remaining. So 70 is the highest from the remaining bids. So Shyam, who is the winner, will pay 70 lakh here. So these two are the type of the auctions. Now here in this game, every player has to do a valuation. Of a resource. Every player can have different value for the resource, right? So I am in this example considering that the resource is the house, and for the player 1 here the valuation is 50 lakh. For player 1 the value of this house is 50 lakh, and for player 2 the value of this house is 70 lakh, and the value of this same house for the player 3 is 40 lakh. So every player is having the different valuation for the same resource. Okay. Now the valuation should be done before the beginning of the auction. On the basis of a valuation, a player will decide the strategy, would make a strategy. Okay. If player put a bid more than the valuation, then definitely he will suffer with a loss. If a player put a bid less than his valuation and he is the winner, then he will earn profit, right? So player make the strategy on the basis of his valuation. Okay. Now in this game, every player has to put a bid in an envelope, and every player would never know the bid amount of the other players. Everyone has to write a bid amount in a paper, and it will put the bid in the envelope, and so that nobody know about the bid of the other players, and the player which is having the highest bid will be the winner, and he has to pay the highest of the remaining bids in the case of second price sell bid. So here in this auction game, we are considering that auction is a second price auction, and every player is having one private valuation, and players are the bidders, and actions are the set of possible bids, and the payoff, which I already described you, the payoff is the difference between the valuation and the amount which the winner will pay. If player is not a winner, then the payoff will be equal to 0. Now the question is, what will be the Nash equilibrium of this game? So to find the Nash equilibrium of this game, we need to understand first what are the possible strategies a player can have. So you can see here, every player can have 3 possible strategies. So strategy 1, the bid truthfully, means every player will put a bid equal to the valuation. Suppose for a player the valuation of a house is 70 lakh and he put a bid 70 lakh, means what? The player is bidding truthfully. Now the second strategy is what? Where the player is bidding more than the valuation. So if I assume that the 70 lakh is the valuation, and if a player put a bid 85 lakh, means what? The player is putting a bid more than the valuation. So this is the strategy 2. Now the strategy 3 is what? Where the player is bidding less than the valuation. So if I assume that the 70 lakh is the valuation and the player is putting a bid 65, so you can see here in this case the bid amount is less than the valuation. So therefore means in this case the player is following the strategy 3. Now we will consider each and every strategy and we'll try to find out the Nash equilibria, the optimal. We will try to find out the optimal strategy and the Nash equilibria of this game. So here in this slide you can see we have 3 different color dots. We have 3 different color circles. The yellow circle is representing the bid of player I. This red circle is representing the bid of other players, Okay, other player means the player which is not I, which can be anyone but not the player I. And the blue circle is representing the valuation of player I for the resource. Now we consider the first scenario in this strategy, in which the player I is having the highest bid, where the player has put it the highest bid. Okay, and this red circle representing the bid of the rest of the players. Okay, and here I have not shown the blue circle. Why? Because the blue and the yellow circle is both same, because this is the case of bidding truthfully. Bidding truthfully means the player I bid is equal to the valuation. So therefore here I have not shown the blue circle. So here the player I is the winner, right? So we are playing for the player I. Okay, from the side of player I. So player I is the winner, right? Now what amount he has to pay? The player I would pay the highest of the remaining bids, right? Because we are considering the second price sell bid auction. Okay, so these are the remaining bids and the highest is this. Okay, and he is paying this is the valuation, because the bid amount and the valuation is same, and this is the amount which the player will pay, and the difference of these two will be the payoff. And as you can see in this case, the player I is earning some profit because he is paying less than the valuation. Okay, now consider the another scenario in which the player I is a loser. Yes, you can see that this is the bid of player I and this is the bid of the remaining players. So any other player, here this player is the winner, okay, which is not I. Okay, now in this case the player I is the loser and he will not pay anything, right? He don't have to pay anything. So therefore the payoff will be what here? The payoff is 0 in this case. He is not earning a profit and he is not suffering with the loss. Therefore the payoff is 0 in this case. So in strategy 1 we have two possibilities. The first possibility, the player I can be a winner and will earn some profit, and the second possibility, when the player I is a loser and the payoff will be 0. So in strategy 1 the player I will never suffer with a loss, right? In strategy 1 the player will never suffer with a loss. Now we consider the second strategy, where in which the player will try to put a bit more than the valuation. Okay, again we have the same circles, the yellow circle representing the bid of player I, and the red circle representing the bid of the other players, and the blue circle representing the player I valuation. Okay, we consider scenario 1. In this case our player I bid is not the highest, so therefore the player I is not a winner. So player I is not a winner, so therefore the payoff of I is 0. This is same as of the case, this is same as of this case, right? So means what? The strategy 2 here similar to performing similar to the strategy 1, right? Now we consider the second scenario. In this scenario the player I is having the highest bid and he is the winner. I is winner. Now this is the valuation money for player I, and this is the highest of the remaining bids. Now what amount he has to pay? He has to pay that amount only, the highest of the remaining bid, and this is the valuation. What will be the payoff here? The payoff is the difference of these two. So this is the payoff. You can see here the amount which the player I is paying is less than the valuation. Means what? Here the player I will earn some profit. So this is also same as the strategy 1, because in the strategy 1 we also have seen that this case where the player I is the winner and he is earning some profit. So we can say that this strategy 2 is also in this scenario 2 is performing same as the strategy 1. Now we consider the another scenario, the scenario 3. In this case, the player I is having the highest bid. Again, he is the winner. I is winner. Now you can see the highest of the remaining bid is this. So the player I has to pay that amount, right? Because this is the highest of the remaining bids. Here the blue is not the bid, it is the valuation of player I. Okay. Now what is the valuation of player I? This is the valuation of player I, and this is the amount which the player will pay, right? So the difference of these two will be the payoff, and you can see here this payoff is negative. Why negative? Because the valuation is low and he is paying more. Means what? The player I will suffer with a loss. But you can see here in strategy 1 there is no scenario in which the player I suffer with a loss. Means what? The strategy 1 is in some cases is same as of the strategy 2, but the strategy 2 in some cases is worse than strategy 1. So these two scenarios, the scenario 1 and scenario 2, is performing same as the strategy 1, and this scenario is not performing same as the strategy 1. This is the worse, this scenario is worse than the strategy 1. The scenario 3 is performing worse than the strategy 1, right? So we can say that strategy 1 is dominating the strategy 2, but only in some specific cases the strategy 1 is dominating. In scenario 3 the strategy 1 is dominating, whereas in case of scenario 1 and scenario 2 the strategy 1 is same, not dominating. Okay. Now consider the another scenario, the strategy 3, when the player will try to put a bid less than the valuation. Okay. Again we have the similar circles. So this is the scenario 1, the first possibility, in which this is the bid of the player I, and we know here this our player I is a loser. So definitely the payoff will be, payoff is 0. This is same as the strategy 1. We already have seen in strategy 1 this is the case in which the player I got nothing, the payoff is 0, right? Now we consider the another scenario, the scenario 2, in which the player bid is this, player I bid is this, and you can see here the bid amount is less than the valuation, because in the strategy 3 we are considering that the bidding should be less than the valuation. So this is the valuation and this is the bid, and this is the amount he has to pay, because the player I is the winner. Player I is the winner, so he has to pay that amount, okay. Now what will be the payoff here? This is the payoff, right? As you can see here the player I is earning profit. Why? Because the amount which the player I is paying is less than the valuation, okay. So this is also same as the strategy 1, because in strategy 1 we already have seen that this scenario, we already have seen this scenario in which the player I is earning profit, okay. So this scenario 2 is also performing same as the strategy 1. So in scenario 1 and scenario 2 this is same as the strategy 1. Okay. Now we consider the scenario 3 for strategy 3, in which this is the bid of player I and this is the valuation of player I. Okay, so you can see the bid amount is less than the valuation, okay, and this player is the winner. This player is a winner. Our player is a loser. So the payoff will be what here? 0. Payoff is 0, right? But if I change strategy 3 from strategy 3 to strategy 1, then this bid will become equal to the valuation. Why? Because in strategy 1 the bid amount should be equal to the valuation, right? So we need to put bid equal to the valuation, right? Now our player I will become a winner, right? And if he is the winner, he has to pay that amount, and this is the valuation, and this will be the payoff, and this payoff is the positive, because this is the valuation money and this is the amount which the player is paying. So he will earn profit, some positive value, he will get some positive payoff. But if player does not change the bid amount and keep same as we are seeing, then the player I will be the loser, and his payoff will be 0. And if I change the strategy from strategy 3 to strategy 1, then he will get some positive payoff, but currently he is getting 0 payoff. Means what? In this scenario 3, the strategy 1 is performing better than the strategy 2. So we can say in some scenario strategy 1 is performing same as the strategy 3, but in some scenario the strategy 1 is performing better than the strategy 3. So we can say that strategy 1 is weakly dominating the strategy 2. Again, in this strategy 2 also, the strategy 1 is performing same as the strategy 1, right? But here the strategy 1 is performing better than the strategy 2. So the optimal strategy is strategy 1, and it is weakly dominating both the strategy 2 and strategy 3. So what is the conclusion here? So bidding truthfully is a weakly dominant strategy for player I, and this is the conclusion for all the players. So the bidding truthfully is a weakly dominant strategy for each and every player, and this strategy profile constitutes the weakly dominant equilibrium, and we know that weakly dominant equilibrium is also a Nash equilibrium. So this is the Nash equilibrium of this game. Thank you.